So now we move to our last brief talk. Give
Thank you,
by
Martina. I'm
thank
Francesca.
you,
Bye.
thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Bye.
Give by Dr. Louise Kirsch from the Sorbonne University in Paris and also affiliated to the CNRS in Paris. And she's going to speak about the social touch in times of social distancing. So wait a sec. Okay, that's.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks to the organizers to invite me at this great workshop, Sense of Touch. And today I'm going to present to you a study I've conducted with Mariana von Moor and Katerina Fotopoulou on the effect of social distancing on social touch. So just a brief summary of why interpersonal touch is important, but I'm sure I have no need to convince you. So first, it has a crucial role in development, has an important role in interpersonal communication, but also it has a possibility to attenuate the perception of physical pain. In particular, we have shown in a study that it also can reduce and soothe emotional pain. So this is very important in the time we are living right now, where tactile interactions have been hindered. So indeed, in order to hinder the accelerating growth of COVID-19, we have been told to keep our distance from each other. And in times of lockdown, we have been in the possibility to touch others, in especially really closed ones. So we wondered what is the impact of these restrictions on our behavior, but also on our well-being. So that's why we conducted this online study during the first lockdown period, where we asked over 1,700 participants to answer these questionnaires on the impact of lockdown on the tactile behavior and trying to find a way to maybe substitute touch. So the first question we asked was how social touch deprivation is impacted and what are the effects on craving and psychological well-being. So participants were to answer three different questions. So first, how much touch they were getting before COVID-19 and in the past week, but also how much they would have wanted to experience social touch. And we asked these three questions for three types of social touch. First of all, intimate touch, but also friendly touch, and finally, professional touch. And here is what we got. So first of all, we can see before COVID-19, participants were getting more intimate touch and more so friendly and professional. And what we can see is that during the lockdown, friendly and professional was almost null, whereas intimate touch was indeed decreased, but still people were getting some. And interestingly, when we asked them which type of touch they wanted to have experienced, it's also the intimate touch that they wanted more. So it seems that even though it's the most experienced, it's also the most wanted to have, to experience intimate touch. Then we wondered, does touch deprivation predict mental health, in particular loneliness and anxiety? And what we found is that actually, when we looked at how much touch there was experienced in the past week, and it predicted anxiety and loneliness in the inverse way, meaning that the less intimate touch people were getting, the more anxious and lonely they were feeling. So taking these results together, we can already wonder how it has a real impact on our everyday life. So can we find a way during this physical distancing to simulate touch? So that was our second question. Can we find a way to reduce anxiety produced by social distancing and find a way to substitute touch? So we can have three ways. First of all, using vicarious touch, or maybe self-touch, and third, maybe other substitutes. So I first will present you the results of vicarious touch and why vicarious touch. So we have shown, and lots of research have shown, that actually there's an importance of touch for social communication, but not only active touch, also passive touch. And indeed, there is a shared pleasantness and shared neural activation for vicarious, observed, and felt touch, in particular in the posterior insula. So what we did is that we asked participants to watch different videos. So, for example, human-human versus human-pet and human-robot interactions. And we wanted to see whether it had different effects. What we also asked was how, like, to rated the anxiety levels with the sty before and after watching these videos. And we also had the measure of loneliness of the participants. And after each video, participants were also asked how pleasant was it to watch the video, was it soothing, to what degree they felt it was a substitute, how much they wished to have this kind of touch right now, and overall, how do they felt right now. What we found is that if we look at anxiety before compared to after watching the videos, we have really this reduced anxiety thanks to watching videos. So there is this kind of soothing effect of watching tactile interactions. Interestingly, what we found is that also the more lonely, the less anxious you are after watching compared to before. So more relaxing effect of vicarious touch. We also can look at the results of how pleasant and how soothing they found each videos. And what we find is that video with pets is more pleasant to watch, but also more soothing compared to the other videos. And that robots in general were not very pleasant or soothing. When we asked whether they found it as a substitute, it was, again, the human-pet interactions that was rated as the most used potentially as a substitute, even though not that much. And then, again, similarly, what we find is that vicarious touch with pets and human in here are equally making people wish to experience this touch, but not the case for human with robot interactions. Another question we asked participants was to rate how awkward they found to watch human interactions, for example, on TV. And what we find is that, indeed, the more awkward it felt to watch human-human interactions, the less calming effect it had to be to watch vicarious touch. So another way to maybe have not a substitute for social touch would be self-touch. So what we did is that we asked participants to watch a video of just really affective touch on the forearm, and we asked them to touch the forearm at the same speed. And then we also asked them, after watching this video, how pleasant it was, how soothing was it, how much they wanted this touch, how awkward, and how they felt. What we found is that compared to before watching and touching and self-touch, there was a reduced stress level. So it seems that there were less stress after self-touch compared to after watching human interaction, but also compared to before, meaning that there was kind of an implicit effect of self-touch. And however, when we asked them how pleasant it was, and if we compared it to vicarious human interactions, so watching human interactions, it was less pleasant and rated as less soothing. Similarly, when we asked them if they wished this kind of touch, they preferred to have a kind of human interactions, so like hugs, than this kind of awkward CT touch on the forearm. So also what's interesting when we look at how they felt, so kind of an implicit way of looking at the effect of self-touch, we found that the more people are lacking touch, the more calming self-touch is. So it meaning that the less stress they were after self-touch. So overall, what we found is that intimate touch is most craved and is reducing feeling of loneliness and anxiety. But vicarious touch, especially for human-pet interactions, has a calming and reduces anxiety. And interestingly, that the more lonely and more lacking touch, the more beneficial vicarious, but also self-touch are. So overall, we need physical touch. So I would like to thank Mariana Farmo and Katerina Fotopoulou, with whom I did the work with, and the organizers of this workshop, and you. So please, if you have any questions, I'm here. Thank you.
Hi all, welcome to my...
Thank you, Louise, for this nice and so relevant presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Wait a sec. Okay, the share screen. I don't know. Oh, we have questions. It's a very long question. Okay, so thank you. The Janik McLeland asks, thank you for this interesting talk. I was wondering how many of your participants experience autonomous sensory meridian response, so ASMR, pleasurable tingling sensation on the skull spreading through the body, which typically arises in social interaction when being touched, but can also be triggered from watching videos showing social interaction or personal attention, like airbrushing. The prevalence is unknown, but it appears to be very common, and millions of people watch such videos on YouTube regularly. We also know that it leads to reduced heart rate, anxiety, boosted positive affect, and sense of connectedness. It's also interesting that some individuals can elicit this soothing tactile sensation in the absence of real human interaction, which seems to be particularly useful in time when we are deprived of such contact. And I don't know if, Louise, you have any data about this autonomous sensory meridian response.
No, not at all. We didn't ask any this kind of questions, but yeah, I think it's kind of interesting to see that we have different ways, or people actually tried to compensate for the lack of touch in different ways, like this ASMR as well, like just listening to audio sound that will kind of create this touch sensation. I'm just thinking it's kind of made me think of this. But yeah, no, unfortunately, we didn't ask this
Ask them.
kind of question. Yeah.
And if I correctly understand, all these data were collected during the first lockdown period. So maybe, do you have any other data that sound like a spoiler probably about the potential long-lasting effect of this social deprivation?
No, actually, we haven't collected new data right now. But it would be super interesting to see how it felt, because I think, for example, this question about the awkwardness of watching tactile interactions that was very strong during the first lockdown. It would be interesting to see whether it changed over time. And I think there is, so I haven't mentioned this, that depending also on an attachment style, it changed the results a lot, like how first we are craving for intimate touch, for example, but also how it is a kind of the soothing effect of watching tactile interactions has a strong effect. So I think, yeah, taking all this into account might change over time as well.
Yeah, I asked this question because I have the opportunity to visit Sierra Leone before and after the Ebola outbreak, and even years later. So when the outbreak finished, they still behave differently. So they keep distance, they change the way of greetings, and so I think that we can see very long-lasting effect also in our case. And that's obviously also in Ebola, the social touch was a problem because the virus spread thanks to body fluids. So that's the commonalities with also COVID-19. So thank you, Louise.
No, thanks a lot.
Thank you again. I think that we finish our brief talk session. So now.
Thank you all. So
I didn't see.
I
didn't know my camera was off, so I just wanted to say thanks.
That you are actually you, okay, not disembodied at all.
Thank you. So now